Hi there, welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to run through fitting a MaxxECU Sport to this E30 325i. This car is owned by a chap called Harry. Him, his father and his brother run a company building performance differentials for Jaguars and many other bits and pieces for many other cars. The company's called Simply Performance. Great guys, go and have a look, check them out. So Harry has fitted some various bits and pieces to this car already. We've got a performance camshaft and we've got a 6-branch manifold. Since fitting these parts, obviously, the car has been stumbling a bit, not starting that great. I'm doing a few other bits and pieces which he'd like to sort of work out and get rid of in the car. So all of the old parts are obviously from new. So the obvious point from now is to move forward by fitting a new management system and trying to tune it to the best we can. So cue us. We're going to fit a MaxxECU Sport. We're going to do a few other little bits and pieces which you may or may not find interesting. I'll try and keep the video nice and short, but we're going to run coil on plug. We're going to try and keep the wiring and the loom, the harness looking, you know, as factory as we can. I know we're going to have to put coil on plug on, so it's obviously going to not look completely factory, but hopefully the benefits that we'll see from those are going to be worthwhile. We'll probably use some, I think probably some LS2 coils. They're nice and easy to get hold of, give us plenty of spark energy. And then any future tuning and any which way that he wants to go in the future, they will handle it. So we'll be doing that. We're going to do a few other bits and pieces. We're going to upgrade the injectors, put new in, purely just because the old ones are really old. They're probably going to be at 100% duty already because every one of these I've ever dynoed is. So yeah, we're going to keep the ECU in under the dash tray like the original, and like I say, just try and make this an improved whole event of driving it and get some performance out of it at the same time. So before we get too carried away, as I say, this is going to be one little video, hopefully compressed, and it'll be easy watching. Before we start, let's power run this car and we'll see what it's doing right now, and then we'll know, we can compare it at the end and see exactly what's going on. So let's do that. Okay, so the car's out of the dyno. One of the first jobs we've got to do is, or how I like to do it, is I'll pull this harness out. This is the old original harness. This connects to the, you know, the ECU goes in through there and connects to all the relevant injectors, sensors, and all of that gubbins. Connects to the car through that little connector there, this little round one. I used to know the name of it. It might be called a C101 or 103 or something like that. But either way, we're going to connect all in through there. So we're not going to adjust the car wiring per se. We're just going to use the engine loom itself. We're going to redesign that and just plug it into the car in the same manner. I'm going to lose the distributor. I'm going to lose all of these leads, and we're going to try and I'm going to use these, as I say, these LS2 coils. We use quite a lot of these. They're quite useful, quite reliable. I've sort of initially planned on sort of mounting them somewhere else. We do like a bracket for these, but I think I might actually mount them on the cam cover. So that's aluminium, so I'm going to make some little studs up, I think, and thread them so that we can just bolt those into the top, and I can make some HT leads to go around to each one of those. Ultimately then that will give us our 5 volt from our MaxxECU, so we can drive those directly. We're going to change the injectors, as I say, put some new ones in. We can drive the idle valve as well. It's quite a basic setup really, this, which is why I've only having one video for it. So right, we'll first get all of this off and we'll modify that so that we can fit these coils on, I think. Okay, cam cover off. I've just run down these edges with some Scotch-Brite, clean the metal right up. I've just made up these little spacers. These are 12mm M6 threaded, so we'll probably just weld them on something like that. These little things then can sit on those. So what I've got to do now is just put some tape down here, mark these up equidistant, mark through to the metal, and then we'll go down and see my mate James at JEK, and he can TIG weld those on for me, and then we've got some ignition coils.
Fucking hell, mate, that isn't.
What was that?
It's not very pleasant.
It's a bit porous, mate. A bit of oil in there, is it?
Just nasty.
Yeah, I've done a quick rattle tin job on it. Not the best, but it'll do what we need to do. So next thing on our list, getting the hardware sorted, a lambda sensor. So we've got our wideband. All I've done really is pulled the pipe off, drilled a hole, welded a nice little stainless boss on there. I say I have when I mean James from JEK has, but we're going to sling all this back on now, bolt the lambda in, and then move on to the next bit. Okay, so coil bolts on, really happy with that. We can make some little leads to go around there at the end. Lambda sensor is in, exhaust is back on, connector for the lambda sensor just comes up there, just runs up the back. So the next modification we've got to do is to the inlet manifold. So we want to pull that inlet manifold off, then we want to change the injectors. We've got some nice new genuine Bosch injectors to throw in there. And also we're going to drill and tap one of the runners, possibly even under the middle, keep it out the way, nice and tucked out the way, but like an inlet temperature sensor. So we use a Bosch one of those. I keep a tap in here. I keep a tap here anyway, so I think it's like M14 by 1.5 or something like that. So we'll tap the bottom of that inlet manifold, new injectors, throw that back on. That's next. Okay, so put me just drilled and tapped this, put my air temperature sensor in there. Cheeky little girl there, lovely. So just got to swap now over the injectors. They've got some nice new ones to go in there, so we're going to pop them in, and then this manifold can go back on. Okay, inlet manifold's back on, new injectors obviously in, all the coils I've now mounted. So I think the next job, we'll make some HT leads now. We'll make some HT leads to go down to them spark plugs. Let's do that. Leads up, that's going to be all right, I reckon. That's not going to look too hideous. Obviously looks a bit different, but hey, it doesn't matter as long as we've got lots of nice spark. Making HT leads up is relatively laborious and straightforward enough, but you know we keep lots of these sort of bits and pieces here. You need some special crimps, and you're away. So yeah, we'll get all these done, and then we'll move on to cam sensor. All the leads are on, so we're going to be running sequential. We're not going to run these in wasted. So the original car had a distributor on the front here, just had like a rotor arm in there, and there's the dizzy cap down there. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but essentially we need a cam signal so that we can get our fully 720 sequential. So MRT Engineering, I think it was Finland ordered this. Comes with a nice billet plate here, which fits over the front. So essentially where that would go. And it's got a lovely little hole here, machined ready for a M52 cam sensor. We'll probably use the VR style. And then it's got this little tahiti in here. That bolts onto the cam in the same position that the old rotor arm would. And then that just basically passes round under the sensor. So we're going to throw that in there now. Then there's only a couple more bits really I need to do mechanically. And then we're ready to put some wires in this and get the thing going. Let the good times roll. Told you it was only a 20-minute video. Okay, so we've got the M52 cam sensor. This goes in there now, and I'll do that, get that bolted in nice. So all of our positioning sensors are done because we can use the original one. The other thing that the E30 does is the old Bosch Motronic system uses this, which is essentially just a wide open switch. So we're going to be using the E36 throttle position sensor. Again, quite straightforward. Uncle Spike's made up this plate, which just bolts onto there where the original goes, and we just got to drill and tap these two holes to go there, mount that on. I'll probably put the drawing for that in the link, just so that you can make yourself one. The only other bit then, mechanically, is the horrendous airflow sensor. Hideously heavy, absolute pain in the arse, bit of a restriction. So again, Uncle Spike's made us up a nice little pipe, which will mount in the same way and bolt onto the airbox in the same manner. So yeah, we can get all these bits and pieces on, then we can throw some wires in there. Okay, right, we've threaded through this sheathing, the original sheathing, our MaxxECU wiring, all the wiring that we need in the engine bay, that is, for our sensors and our outputs, coils, injectors and things like that. I've ran off some of the inputs and the outputs from, and the powers, etc., from our MaxxECU loom and put to an 8-way DT connector. Some of those wires are also threaded up through and go to this bulkhead connector, so that it's all as in OEM. Some of the other wiring, you know, goes to, we've got like the speed sensor, goes to the ECU, and the tachometer and stuff like that goes to a DT connector. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sheath these up, bring up all our connectors for the injectors and our coils and our sensors, and then we'll terminate this side. Okay, bit windy today. Uncle Spike's here giving us a hand. We're just finishing up now, really, just tidying things out. So Uncle Spike's been in and run our map sensor wire back down to the ECU. We've like finalised everything, got everything bolted up nicely. Everything's wired now. The only thing we've got to do now is like this relay, just to supply our coils on ignition. Other than that, we're about ready almost for a first fire. It's in the dyno cell purely because it was just easier to put it in here for the weekend. So typically it's a Sunday again, and Uncle Spike and me seem to be working on a Sunday more often than not. So yeah, we're pretty much ready to go now. Just got to sort this little bit out, and we'll go for a test fire. Right then, let's get this old girl started up. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through our MaxxECU program. We're going to connect it to the ECU. We're going to do any software updates that may be required. MTune will tell you if you need a firmware update, and it will do it automatically, so that's great stuff. Just follow the on-screen instructions. So the first thing we need to do is, I have gone through, and I will include this base file in the YouTube links at the bottom so that you can have a look at it if you should so desire. So the first thing I've done is just gone through all the basic engine settings. I've programmed in our sensors for our coolant temperature sensor. I've told it that we've got the lambda sensor connected, and I've added in a few bits and pieces for the lambda control. I've been through all of our output tables, told it where our bits and pieces are, what our injectors are doing, which cylinders they're native to, which cylinders they're connected to. Also things like the idle valve, the idle control valve solenoid. I've told it which pins that's connected to, fuel pump relay, the tacho, all of those things. So you can get all of those things programmed in nice and easy. Now one of the first things I'll do when I first start an engine is once I'm happy with what we've got basically banged into the MTune software, is I'll start it in group, I'll start it in wasted spark, and then I'll use the oscilloscope function to find out exactly that our cam position sensor, where it is exactly in relation to our crank, all of those bits and pieces, so we can make sure we've got good signals, and then I'll put it over into sequential once I've got it running and I'm happy enough with it in group and wasted. So let's get this started first. So we'll turn the car on, and hopefully it should find the ECU, which it has, and then it's going to tell us, you know, do we want to read from the ECU or do we want to go from MTune to the ECU? Quite obviously we've modified this software on the MTune software, so we're going to fire that straight into the MaxxECU, so right to ECU, boom. So now the ECU has exactly what we've got on the software. So the things I haven't managed to do are things like program the throttle position. So we will just do that very quickly. It's dead easy. Obviously inputs, sensors here, these I've already configured because we know what they are. Close voltage, just hit that, and then I'll put my foot right down on the throttle very gently. Boom, done. So now, lovely. So we've got a nice smooth action on our throttle position down the bottom corner here if you haven't seen it. Okie dokie. So now really, I guess we can go for a fire up. Lambda sensor is working, it's warmed up. Okay. Right, let's see if it goes. We're picking up an RPM. Right, okay. So we are kind of running, we're way low, so we just picked that up on the throttle just a little bit. Okay, so we're really, really rich at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll just we'll pop in, hit F5. Like I say, this is a very generic table. We'll just pull some fuel out for a minute. Just try and keep her a bit happier. Oh yeah, she's getting a bit happier now. Idle valve's just kicked in, I think. Right, so we're very rich. So we just need to pull a bit of fuel out. Okay, right, we have an idle. It's way out from where we want it to be, but we've got an idle. So we need to now just double check, we've got no fuel leaks, all those bits and pieces, and we know that already, like primed the pump previously. Well, we can see now we're sitting at 0.980, 960, down to 8, but we're way out, but we know we are. Let's just pull a bit of that out, actually. For a first start, that's not too bad, to be honest. I'm not unhappy with that. Right, so what do we need to know? We need to know that our coolant temperature is raising. It is. Our intake temperature still looks sensible. We know that it's going to be. Those sensors are working. Lambda sensor we can see is working because it's sat there idling away, and we can see those things. So, okay, what do we need to do now? I've got the car on the dyno, it's all strapped on properly. I've connected the dyno to the car so the dyno knows what the car's doing. I'm going to be wearing my deck cans. It's just a little knock sensor on the side of the block. You won't be able to hear that, sadly, but maybe we'll do something in the future with a video based on that. But what we're going to do, essentially, is we're going to make the dyno hold at whatever RPM I choose to set the dyno at. So we're going to do, I don't know, let's do 2,000 revs, then we'll do 2,500, and then you can just see how it sort of correlates over. We'll tune the VE table, then we'll tune the ignition table, and I'll just run through how, why, and what. I'm sorry it's not that interesting, this video, but it's just meant to be like a quick sort of insight. So we'll start the car up. Like I say, we'll program the dyno to hold at 2,000 revs. So the dyno is connected to the engine. I've got an injector connector connected to it, so it knows our RPM. So it's going to now apply load to the back wheels to prevent us from going beyond 2,000 revs. So what I'll be able to do is drive up to 2,000, and then I'll be able to pick up all of my cells in the VE table and then the ignition table in that column. So we're up to 2,000 now. You can see that our lambda is a little bit out. So the fifth box along from the bottom right, you'll see our fueling target error. So the fifth box along from the bottom right is our targeting error. So we know we're up to temperature, all of those things, so we know we're out. The lambda control within the ECU is kind of looking after our fueling at the moment, but again, we know that. So we're going to just be hitting the up and down key, get rid of our targeting error so that we are about 0%. We just get it to 0 just for this instance. So we'll try and get to as much as we can in this row, in this column, sorry. So we know that the cell above the one we just done is going to be 43%, so we'll keep firing that up. There we go. So you can see it's the table is starting to take shape already. You can see it's using far more fuel the further I put the pedal down. Okay, so nearly there. It's starting to actually work a bit now. Induction noise is getting a bit louder. Okay, so I've got keyboard shortcuts set up on my PC, so I will just be hitting F7. We'll go to the ignition timing map. So as you can see, I've just blocked it out generically at the minute. So what we're going to do now is, this is where my deck cans you won't be able to hear what I'm hearing, sadly, but right, so I can just about hear the engine, but I'm going to, hopefully you can see across now to the dyno screen. You can see the tractive effort at the bottom. So I'm going to hold this about there, and I'm going to start to increase the time. So what we'll see is that the tractive effort starts to come up at the top. So there we go. What will happen is it will start to sort of get to a point where it will plateau, where it's not making any more power. And just start to get a bit of noise in there. So it's just starting to get a bit noisy there. So we're going to leave it there, and then we're going to go up. We know we're going to go up somewhere near there. You can see the tractive effort just going up. It's the power applied to the wheels essentially. You just start to see where it starts to sort of level off. So again, it's just starting to get a bit noisy there. It isn't making any more power at that point. So we'll just keep doing this for this column. Obviously, having EGT sensors and stuff in this instance can be useful. Just silence that. The phone's going off, obviously. Okay, so we know we're going to be somewhere around a 35 here, we know that, so we just interpolate that. So that's just highlight, press I, interpolate. So we've now got we've got 2,000 revs. Our column, our column is populated. So what we can do now is change. So Control C, and then we just come on to the next column. Control D.
and then we've got our timing in, and we'll do that in the same. So we'll go back to F5 and we'll copy that, Control C, Control V, and we'll start to build up our table. So now we can pop the dyno into 2,500, and then we'll just fire the vehicle all the way up to 2,500, and we'll do the same again, same process. So we'll do this sort of right the way up till we feel comfortable or uncomfortable more. Once we've got this table populated, we can then go in and do a couple of power runs, make sure it's doing what we expect it to do. But essentially, you can see now that this graph will follow the same shape. Essentially, just will demand more. So we've already got like a reasonable start because we've copied that previous column over. You can see it's just using a bit more. Now sometimes when you get like a big jump, you know, this is jumping up quite a percentage here, so we may find that we want to add a column in here. This is one of the great things I love about the MaxxECU, is we can just add in columns. What's interesting is it will interpolate those columns. I'll tell you what, I'll do it now. So we just want to add a column after, so insert column after. We've now got one of 250, and it's interpolated those columns essentially within those rows. So let's pop back over to F7, sorry, to our ignition angle, and we can do the same with the ignition timing. Got the dyno set, holding it back. Again, I'm just going to be looking at. I'm going to be listening to the vehicle's engine, and we're going to be adding a little bit of timing in. You can see it's not making any difference there at all, so let's get up further. So engine's not noisy, so we'll probably add a little bit in here, not making any difference. So pull up a bit, back out, that's about spot on. So you can see that just moving that table over is, in that 500 RPM has made like little or no difference. No. So brilliant. So we can just move over now and do the next column, next column, next column, next column. Then we can move into doing some power runs. So I will now tune the vehicle. You don't want to watch me doing all this because it's very dull, I'm sure. I will now tune the vehicle, and then we'll do a couple of power runs at the end, and we'll have a quick chat about it. There we go, pretty happy with that. We've got lots of gains pretty much everywhere. It's still making power. I've set the limiter to 6.5. It's still making power, not massively, but it's still going. So I think if we could rev it more, we'd be sort of 190, 195, but I'm pretty happy with that. It's gaining everywhere it can gain. We've smoothed it right out. The torque is much nicer. The power graph, as I say, is far smoother, and we've just made gains everywhere. So really happy. So next thing on our little list is we'll go and have a little drive, make sure that we've set our acceleration enrichments nicely. We'll do a couple of cold starts and a few warm ones as well, of course. Just make sure it's ready to go. When I go and do a data log on the road, we'll plug the laptop in, just take some data logs, and then just sort of go through them afterwards. So that's pretty much it for this lovely little E30. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I say, it's just literally a quick, this is a fairly sensible conversion to do this on, because it's relatively straightforward. Yes, you don't have to go for sequential, you don't have to go for coil on plug, but you know, if you're going to go to the effort, if you're going to go to the bother of putting on a modern ECU, like, just modernise it. As far as I'm concerned, the money that you're going to spend now is minuscule if you want to do it in the future. You know, why not? Let's just get it all dealt with and get it all sorted. So yeah, we're really happy. we'll get a few little bits and pieces finished up, and then we can give the car back to Harry. Hopefully he'll be pleased. Ultimately, we've, you know, it's nearly 20 horsepower we've gained out of it, you know, if you round it up. But yeah, we're really happy. So yeah, we can pull it off the dyno now, go and do those bits and pieces. Like I say, hope you've enjoyed it. Please do all the things that we ask you to do. I know it's I know everyone asks the same thing over and over, but you know, it does help us, which is the like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you've got any questions, and as I say, I'll leave the pinouts and like the initial tune we started out with, because it might be useful to you. I'm aware that there are plenty of E30s running various different aftermarkets, but this was just like a nice, quick, hopefully clean cut way of how we did it on this. So again, thanks ever so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you all soon.